Guy, make some noise right now for the very funny Zoltan Kaszas!
Have fun, buddy. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. I feel like I came in too early. Didn't it? I should have started walking from further back. I could tell it. Ah, damn it. I knew it. I was in the back too, and I'm like, they're gonna play a little ditty. Don't come up too fast, because then you're just gonna stand there like a piece of shit. Don't do it. And then I was trying to feel it out, and I didn't feel that out at all. I was like, this is the right time, and it was the wrong time. I tried to feel that this entire evening. I wore the wrong shirt, let's be honest. Take a look at everybody else. In the audience, on stage, look at everybody. I wore the wrong shirt, all right? I look like I should be parking cars outside right now. People going, bring the RAV4 around. Because I do the jazz show all the time, and I'm like, I even thought of wearing the blazer. I have a blazer that doesn't fit. I have one that doesn't fit, because you ever buy a coat at H&M, and you're like, that's how wide my shoulders are. And then you go home, and you're like, we're not using the buttons. All right. We're not using any of these buttons. I'm just going to have a... You can't eyeball a coat, you know. You got to put that on. Anyway, I do like how quiet it gets. It makes me very uncomfortable. You guys have had a really good job of that. Just a big like, ha ha ha, and then when it's over, wow. I'm just standing up here with the band. That's the scary part too, because I've been watching the show in the back, and I'm like, you know, if a joke doesn't land, there's also, like, you have faces behind me that can let you know that they also didn't enjoy the joke. You know what I mean? Like, that was one of my fears in the back. I was like, if I tell a joke that doesn't land and you guys are like, that was mediocre, but boy, did the band not enjoy it. That's what, like, you guys are in a band, you guys are used to working together. Oh, you were about to join. See, I'm not. Play a little something. Blow into it. Yeah. That's exactly how I felt right there. Just like Woody Allen walking down the street by himself. Not after a child thing, just a regular walk down the street. And I like the type of jazz you guys played tonight. Like the other times, the other jazz shows, I don't know if you guys have been on other jazz shows, but it was like nerdy jazz. It was, you know what I mean? You've been to the other ones. You know what I'm talking about. Like, it's good jazz, but you're like, yeah, this is what like a genius listens to when he's thinking of genius things, you know? They really listen to the yeah with it, and this. And then tonight was just like someone's leaving pregnant jazz. Like this was like, you were conceived to this diddle. That's not even the right word. I think I meant ditty, and I said diddle. This is why it's so important to put on the right shirt when you leave the house. Because you could just go on stage in front of people very uncomfortable, and they're going to be able to tell. You know? Is this like an unusual band? Are you guys doing like gigs together? Like, do you guys ever do like a shit gig?
Oh, yeah.
Like and don't say the one right now, because that would hurt my heart. Like, what's the worst setting for a gig? Yeah, go ahead.
I did a gig at SeaWorld.
SeaWorld, already horrible.
There was a contract that said if it got rained out, then we won't play.
Right.
And so it starts raining. And somehow my ass is still playing at SeaWorld.
Ah, you had to play in the rain.
It wasn't in the rain, but it was just, there's no one there.
No audience is worse than rain. Because you can play a badass guitar solo with the rain coming down, and women will take their tops off. But with no audience, there's no tops. I've done that before. I used to perform at colleges. I used to walk around, I used to tour the country performing for college students. And boy, if you wanted to feel bad about yourself, Have a room full of 18-year-olds stare at you while you tell them about the rent, you know? But yeah, I remember one time I showed up at this college in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh, and I showed up and there was like 10 people, 10 students in a small room waiting for the show, and the young lady running the show, she was like, can we wait 10 minutes because I think 10 more people are coming? And I'm like, yeah, let's wait. We waited that 10 minutes, 10 more people did not show up, and in fact, those 10 people left. So now there was no audience. It was dry though, you know, it wasn't bad. And she goes, I'm so sorry you don't have an audience. She handed me a check and she goes, you can go. And I'm like, never apologize for this. This is amazing. And so the next night I'm in somewhere else in Pennsylvania and I walk in, it's a similar situation. This one's a giant cafeteria that goes on forever. And there's a stage with nobody there and there's like 2 students studying way in the back. And then I'm like, this is going to be great. They're just going to hand me a check. I'm going to go get drunk at the Marriott. This is wonderful. And then the young lady who's running that show, she goes, well, it's 8 o'clock. Get up there. Yeah. And I'm like, what? There's no one here. And they're like, we paid you. And I'm like, I want to kill you, I think. So I had to walk on stage in front of nobody and go, hi. How are you? And then I begged the 2 students that were studying so far away I couldn't even make out their faces. I was like, can you please stop chasing your dreams and come up here and just sit in the front? I begged them. I was a 30-year-old man begging 18-year-old kids to sit here so I could do this. And then they came up and then they listened for like 10 minutes and they're politely smiling. And then after 10 minutes, one of them gets up to leave. And as they're pushing the double doors open, I was like, what was it? Too many cat jokes? Because I had a cat joke in my act. And he just looks at me and he goes, I just can't. And then he pushed the doors open and he left. And I had 45 more minutes to do. And I was just standing on the stage going, I hate this, you know? Exactly. The worst show I ever did was in San Diego. It was a private event. It was for a birthday party. It was for a lady's 50th birthday party, and what she did is she rented out the entire comedy club for her and her 9 friends. Yeah. I didn't know that until they're just like, we need a comic. And I'm like, I can do that. And I showed up and I saw the situation. It was just 9 people sitting in a row like a firing squad. And all the comics had to come up and just dance for them. It was like the most degrading thing ever. And I was going on last. I don't know if that's better or worse. So I got to see my own fate, you know? It was like in the movie Predator when all the other people got to see the first guys get eaten. They're like, that sucks. I wish I hadn't seen it, you know? And so right before I went up, they're like, listen, you're going on last. You only have to do 10 minutes and you'll know your time is up when you see the birthday cake coming up the side. And that's when you're just going to start singing happy birthday. And I'm like, that's the worst idea I've ever heard. But you already paid me, so let's do it. So I'm on stage and I'm bombing. Like, it's not going well. Like, it's 9 people in an empty comedy club. Like, they're smiling, but it's rough. And I feel like 10 minutes is coming up, so I'm trying to wrap up my set for this birthday finale. And I was going to go into my last joke, so I asked the birthday girl, I'm like, excuse me, are you single or are you in a relationship? Now, she was cool before, and now she's no longer cool. All right, she was just like, I don't want to, and I was like, whoa, easy. I'm not like trying to hit on you or anything. I'm just trying to get in my last stupid joke and get the hell out of here. Are you single or are you in a relationship? She's like, I don't want to, and I was like, what is happening right now? And then that firing squad breaks into a small huddle, and they just start discussing, and I'm like, what is happening? And then after about like 10 seconds, she pops up out of the huddle like a whack-a-mole. She just pops right up and she looks at me and she goes, I'm a widow. Yeah. And as soon as she got that last W out of widow, here comes the cake. So now I'm just there like, happy birthday to you. That was the worst show that I've ever done. Yeah, very much enjoyed it. I like being out here in La Jolla. Anyone from La Jolla? Clap it up. Locals from La Jolla? One guy. All right. Congratulations. You're doing great. You know? You were one of your ancestors. Someone killed it. Pulling it off. Thanks for coming to join us. It was more than I expected, I'll be honest. I like coming up here. I just look at the mansions and I'm like, they could make inflation go down. Like, do you have any control over that? Is there any dial in the house? You ever bump into it and then gas comes down 50 cents and you're like, whoa, oh dear. Robber's on his phone. That's how that bit's been going. I looked back to make eye contact and I'm like, all right, that's where that's at. You're fine. I know, we took a dip. I know. I talked about Biden. I couldn't feel the temperature of the room. Pulled it back with the trailer park. Saxophone guy's not making eye contact with me anymore. It's all going south. I wanted to, is that an alto sax?
Tenor.
It's a tenor. All right, I took a guess with the one sax that I knew. I played alto sax in the middle school band. Not well. Like, I joined the middle school jazz band because they came and played for my elementary school. And like, there was a kid that wore a hat with sunglasses indoors, and I thought that was the coolest kid I had ever seen. And I'm like, I'm joining the band because my father's a musician. And he left when I was a baby, classic musician. So I never met him. But my mom told me, hey, he played the violin. He was more, not so much jazz, but more like classical, like Hungarian folk. You know, very cool brand of music. You know, not as cool as the jazz you heard tonight, but it's up there. And I was like, oh, that means music is in my blood, right? It's running through my streams. I'm gonna join. And I thought I would just have the saxophone in my hand and then just boop, 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 doo, and a bunch of girls would be like, hell yeah, we're coming home with you. But that's not how it works out at all. It's not, you have to practice a lot. That's what I learned. It doesn't come out of your pores, you know. I actually quit practicing because my mom was like, hey, can you quit practicing? Because the walls on this trailer are super thin and I just worked a double shift and I'd really appreciate some peace and quiet. I made that up. She didn't ask me to stop, but I stopped because it hurt my feelings how bad I sounded. Did you ever have that moment like in the beginning or did you... Yeah, that was very close. Were you there? Like, that's exactly what I sounded like. And so here's what happened. I joined jazz band, and then I found out I sucked like 10 days in. And so I quit, but I didn't quit. I didn't like leave the band. So I would still show up to 6-period jazz band, but I wouldn't play. I would just pantomime next to the other. There's like 5 saxophones, and I would just do the face and the fingers, and I'd be like, we're really vibing right now, aren't we? And no one ever knew, but every once in a while I'd get busted because like I remember one time the music teacher, Mr. McGee, is like, one of the saxophones is out of tune. Play one at a time. And then so first guy would go beep 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 doo, and like that's perfect. Next one deep dap dee doo. That one's wonderful, and then me just and like yep, it was me. I would always just say, my reed is broken. That's the issue that happened. My reed broke. But yeah, but it all worked out. We're all here. You and me, we're one and the same. Did your dad leave too? My dad is still in Hungary. My mom, I don't know if anyone here grew up without a dad, but my mom used to, a couple people, yeah. Oh, you guys fit the mold perfectly. Hell yeah. It's exactly who I'd guess. All right. Did your mom ever use sending you to your dad as like a threat of a punishment if you didn't act right? That's what my mom would do all the time. She'd be like, if you don't act right, I send you to Hungary to live with your father. And around 12, I realized, wait a second, she doesn't know where he is. Like, that's an empty threat, you know? And I remember I called her out. I'm like, you don't know where Dad is? And she's like, son of a bitch. Okay. Well, that worked for a couple years. And my fiance, she has both her parents. And she's just like dumbfounded that I'm not interested in meeting my dad. She's like, aren't you at least interested to know what he looks like and talk to him? And I'm like, no. Because I never like met him. It's not like he left when I was 5. I never met the man. And now if I met him, it would just be awkward. You know, it would be like a Tinder date, you know? It's like we're just getting to know each other. And plus, he probably doesn't speak English. My Hungarian's horrible. So we're going to have to, it's going to be like a 90-day fiancé situation. Where I got to be like, why did you leave? And I'm like, I'd rather not know the answer than have to go through that, you know?